Throughout history, football fans love to debate who the greatest players are of all time. But when it comes to one position, there is simply no conversation. Jerry Lee Rice used his unrelenting drive and determination to become the greatest wide receiver the NFL has ever known. After being drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in 1985, he went on to set 36 NFL records, including total yards, games, receptions, and touchdowns. He's a 12-time All-Pro, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and a first-ballot Hall of Famer. But before he was a Super Bowl MVP, did you know he liked to catch and ride his neighbor's horses as a kid? Tried out for his high school football team as punishment for cutting class. Was part of a college offense nicknamed the Satellite Express. Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't. Please welcome Jerry Rice.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
All right.
How good was that?
Oh, man, that's fantastic,
You walk
man.
out to a standing O, and I kind of get the feeling looking at you right now, if you had to get open,
I can still do it. What are
I
you
know
talking
you can
about?
still do it.
I can run routes. I can catch the ball. I can read defenses.
Oh, I know. I believe that. You still work
No,
out?
no, you're looking at me like you don't
Well,
believe me.
I'm taking in the outfit is what I'm doing.
Okay.
That's a nice outfit.
Always dressed to impress.
I know.
I try my best. I try my best.
And that started early. That started early. Not as early as 1962 in Crawford, Mississippi, but it started early. Tell me about life back then. Your beginnings, it's an incredible story.
This started for me a long time ago, and during the introduction, you talked about riding horses, in the pasture and all that. And when I was, a little kid, I would just run. And I could have been Forrest Gump, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Because I was just running, and I didn't know why. But I was preparing myself and getting myself ready for the NFL.
Your dad, Joe, was a bricklayer.
Yeah.
What kind of household did you grow up in? Was it tough love? Was it, if you stepped out of line, what kind of discipline?
Very tough love. And my father, he would discipline you if you did something wrong. But my father also, he was very loving, and very encouraging, because he taught me the meaning of hard work and dedication. That you should always go out and you should always give 100%. But it was tough around the household. I had 5 brothers, I had 2 sisters, and my father and my mother, they just taught me that, you have to earn everything. And you shouldn't take any shortcuts. You should work for it.
So we're looking at a picture here, and when I say tough
Man,
love,
he's a big man.
I was going to say.
Scary, ain't it? Intimidating.
Yeah, I wouldn't, the discipline could not have been fun.
No, not at all. It was very painful.
It was.
Yeah.
That's something, and maybe it's not politically correct to talk about in 2016, but it is something that a lot of people that have sat in that seat over there in the short history of this show all have in common. They had parents, and if they stepped out of line, they were corrected.
Well, my kids know. I can look at my kids a certain way, and they know they better straighten up.
Right.
Yeah, and my father used to do the same thing, to us. He could just look at us. He'd give us that stare down, and we knew that we had to change our behavior.
It's funny. What we like to do is obviously walk down memory lane and go back to your beginnings. There aren't a ton of pictures from your childhood because...
Thank God.
Well, yeah, but it costs money. You were, you were a poor family, but I know without even having asked you, you weren't probably aware that you didn't have a lot because you had what you had and you made it work. And you had hardworking parents that surrounded you with love, and brothers and sisters that did the same thing.
And I think that really, that made up for so much because, to have parents like that that's very loving and I didn't have the designer shoes, the tennis shoes, the blue jeans, the suits and all that. But, I think my parents really, just taught us that sometimes the less you have can be more rewarding. And, just growing up in Mississippi and not being in the big city, I think it really helped me a lot because I didn't get into too much trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Crawford, Mississippi. There
Very
weren't
small.
paved roads, no stoplights.
And I used to run those roads. If I would go to work with my father, he would drop me off at school. Then after that, I had to run probably about 5 miles to get home. And it was dark. And being in Mississippi, you just got trees and you got darkness and you don't have lights or anything like that.
So you're running through the
I'm
woods.
running for my life right now because you wouldn't believe, when you are out in the woods, the sounds that you hear. And they're not all good.
Yeah.
And that's something I went through, but it just taught me just how to appreciate everything and just to, really work hard.
I said your dad, Joe, was a bricklayer, and the 8 kids formed a supply line, and you guys were throwing bricks, and that's how you developed your hands.
We had a tradition. We had a chemistry, and everyone had a very important part.
Were you in a specific spot in the line?
Because I would be up on like the scalpel.
Yeah.
And the scalpel might be 20 feet in the air. And we still got to be able to toss the bricks up a certain way. So my brothers, we came up with this concept. We could throw 2 bricks up, and they would separate and be able to just snatch them out of the air. So there's that myth of me learning how to, catch footballs from catching bricks.
And you didn't want to slow Dad down either in the line.
Because I didn't want to get whipped. I didn't want to get disciplined again. So, because if I slowed my father down, then, that took time away from the next job. So, we all had a role to uphold, and we took pride in it, and we worked hard at it.
But what about your mom? What's your relationship with your mom? Because I know your mom was protective of you.
Well, my mom was very loving, and if anybody from this audience, if you came over to the house, she's gonna ask you what you want to drink, what do you want to eat, or anything like that. So she would welcome anyone in, even a stranger. But just watching her, I think it just taught me how to treat people.
What'd you dream about being as a kid? I mean, what is a kid in Crawford?
I wanted to be a professional football player.
You did?
Yeah, and my team was the Dallas Cowboys. Roger Staubach,
yeah,
Tony Hill, Drew Pearson, all these guys. And I remember, that star on that helmet. And I said,
that's
wow.
kind of cowboy country, isn't it, though,
yeah,
Mississippi? There's a lot of cowboy fans.
It really is. So it's like I would watch them, and I would ask my mom and my father, I said, look, the only thing I want for Christmas is a football. Just give me a football, and that's it. So they would get me this football, and I would go outside, I would kick it around, I'll throw it around with my brothers and my sisters. And
yeah, but you weren't part of organized athletics, right? I mean, this was when you were young, it was playing with your brothers and your sisters, and that's it. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, get the uniform ready yet until you started later when you hit high school.
Yeah, I sort of fell into football, and I was playing hooky one day. The principal noticed I could run really, really fast, and then he wanted me to go out for the football team. So I go out for the football team. I'm not the most gifted athlete, or I can't even compete with those other guys. But I felt like if I really work at this, maybe I could have some success at it. And I just kept working, and I kept working. And another incentive that really pushed me is that I noticed I was a nerd the entire time I was in high school. I noticed the girls started liking me all of a sudden because I was becoming that football player, that guy in high school. And the more the girls liked me, the harder I worked. So that was my secret to success.
So the greatest
That was
receiver
it.
in NFL history just did it to get chicks.
Yeah. Joe, look, you got to imagine this. You got to imagine this. Okay. I'm this skinny guy in high school, and I had humongous hands.
Right.
I mean, just huge. People would notice my hands before, anything else.
Right.
So I was embarrassed by that, and I always had my hands in my pocket. And, so they wouldn't, comment or say something about, the size of my hands. So the girls, man, just going out there catching the football and just running around and scoring touchdowns.
I'm glad you didn't
That's
take
a
that
big
where
incentive,
I thought you were
man.
going to take it.
No, I'm not going to take it there.
All right. Were there major universities looking at you by the end of your high school years?
Well, when I first came out, I got letters from all the major schools. But Mississippi Valley sent this one coach out to talk to me. And that goes a long way in Mississippi. I mean, anytime you can look a person straight into, their soul, or you can shake their hand or something like that, it goes a long way. But I got letters, and I decided to, go to Mississippi Valley because of Archie Cooley. Archie Cooley was doing something special because the ball was going to be in the air 90% of the time. And, that really gave me, an opportunity where I get exposure, not only for me, but for my teammates and what we were able to accomplish at Mississippi Valley State.
They called it the Satellite Express.
Yes, sir.
Because the ball was always in orbit.
Oh, yes, sir.
That's got a nice ring to it.
I loved it because you see a lot of this happening in the NFL now with Chip Kelly, the up-tempo offense and all that. That's something we did a long, long time ago. And the ball was always in the air. The satellite Todd, they used to call me Jerry the World Rice. And I don't know how they came.
Call out teammates, right? If you didn't think guys were working as hard as you were, you'd get on them.
I really thought it was important to be a leader. And you don't have to just call those guys out in front of the entire group. You can just pull them aside and you can say, hey, look, we have an expectation here. And right now you're not living up to that. You have to work hard every day. You have to dedicate yourself. You got to be able to help this team out. So I had my way of doing that, but it was important because of the way I practice every day. And if those players are looking at you a certain way, they're really gonna try to follow in your footsteps. So every day, it was always 100%. I just felt like I'm destined for something.
Somewhere in this time in your life, you and your brother Tom, who's 4 years older than you, make a pact that you're gonna go to the pros.
Yeah, Tom put that pressure on me to play professional football because Tom was playing at Jackson State University, and he was the center there. And he had a lot of success, but he came up a little short. And he said, "Look, you got to make it." So he just told me, just out of the blue, "You got to make it," And I just felt that pressure. Well, I felt the pressure. I looked forward to it. I wanted that because I felt if I was successful and if I made it, I could make life better for my mom, my dad, and my brothers, my sisters, and that was it.
1985 draft comes around. Now, unbeknownst to you, the great Bill Walsh had been through Houston to play the Oilers with the 49ers and had seen you play. And you have this wide open attack at Mississippi Valley State. And here's Bill Walsh, the creator of this West Coast offense and quick hitters and almost like long handoffs. And he, in his mind, thinks, that's my guy.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, going into the draft, you know how great you are. You have an idea. But are you aware that others know at the next level how good you are? What are your hopes for that draft?
I felt I could get drafted, but I was not sure.
Drafted in general?
Just in general. And But you know, you have these guys and these players, you know, they have parties, they do all of that stuff, but I was way too nervous because I didn't want that disappointment just in case. So I was just with my brother in Jackson, Mississippi, Tom.
The one who you made the pact with.
And we sat there and we watched the draft together. And I just felt something was going to happen, but I didn't know what. And when I think San Francisco traded with New England to get down to that.
To move up.
Yeah, to get down to that 16th spot because I, you know, on the other hand, Dallas had the next pick.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, this would be like my dream come true. The Dallas Cowboys. I'm gonna get drafted by the Cowboys.
Now this is heresy, by the way, for a 49er.
I know. I'm gonna get drafted by the Cowboys, and then San Francisco traded with New England to get down to that 16th spot. Then they called my name, and it didn't register at first. You know, I was stunned. Then I get the call from the genius, Bill Walsh, and I hear that voice, you know, like, welcome to the San Francisco 49ers. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So now I'm like, okay, I just got drafted by the 49ers. They just won the Super Bowl against Miami at Stanford University. Joe Montana, Roger Craig, Ronnie Lott, all these great players. We talk about legends. We talk about guys that you know had the rings, you know, Hall of Famers, all of that. So I was like, oh my God, I was terrified to death. Then going to the big city of San Francisco.
I mean, from Crawford, Mississippi.
Crawford, Mississippi. Imagine that.
Well, I mean, how about the culture shock of being in San Francisco is one of the most, you know, forward cities, and it's one of the great cities in the world, let alone America.
I got on the airplane. Scared me to death. I was like, oh my God, airplane? Because, you know, at Mississippi Valley, we went by bus everywhere. Everywhere we went.
So was that your first flight?
Yeah. It just scared me to death. It scared me to death. But then I flew into Oakland, California. Get off the plane. Oh my God. It's like cameras everywhere. Flashes. I wanted to turn around, go back on the plane, and go back home. It was just like I had to adjust to so much.
There was a fear there, wasn't there? And that's not a bad word, but you're a guy who wants to live up to expectations, and there is a lot of pressure and fear of failure.
Yeah, because it's like once you get drafted in the first round, there's a lot of expectation. And if you end up being the bust, that's it. You know, that team, they can't recoup from that. So I had a lot of weight on my shoulders, and, you know, because I didn't want to let my family down, my parents, I didn't want to let Mississippi Valley State down. You know, Crawford, Mississippi, you know, Starkville, Mississippi, I didn't want to let them down. And of course, I didn't want to let the San Francisco 49ers down.
You'd have a bout with the drops your rookie season.
Yeah.
I think 11 games, 11
Cried
drops.
like a baby.
One of the headlines was snap, crackle, drop.
I don't remember reading that one.
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember that one from summer.
But you were a guy that did read. I mean, right? I'm talking about headlines and stuff that's said about you.
Yeah.
Some guys don't. You know, some guys in professional sports.
They say they don't, but they
do.
They
okay.
do. They do.
I would agree with that. But you were aware of that, and as you said, there's a game, I believe, against the Chiefs, where you go in at halftime and you're in tears.
Yeah, because I'm trying to find out, I'm trying to figure this out. Like, what is going on? You know how to catch a football, you know how to run routes. It's just something it's like a routine for you. Why are you dropping the football? And I think it was just trying to adjust to everything that was around me.
So you're thinking more than playing.
So I was thinking instead of just playing football.
And all the while, you're trying to earn the trust of Joe Montana.
The legend himself.
The legend who had just won a Super Bowl. And you know way better than I do, receivers, especially in today's game, you drop a few more, that quarterback's not going to go back to you.
Yeah, and I put pressure on myself to try to catch everything from Joe. And It went opposite. I was dropping everything, and I said, eventually this guy is going to stop throwing me the football. So it was not like I was not working hard, but it was just not coming together. And I remember all my teammates. I remember Montana. I remember Bill Walsh, all those guys saying, look, man, just keep working hard. It's going to happen.
Early interview, your first camp, they ask you, what do you hope to accomplish? And your answer is, I want to be the greatest receiver of all time. Now,
I said it in my Mississippi accent.
Let's hear it.
Let me see, can I do it? I want to be the greatest receiver of all times.
You sound totally different.
I want to be the greatest receiver. I remember looking at that. I'm like, oh my God, Jerry, you just put more pressure on yourself. But that was just, that was just part of it. And looking back on that, I wanted to be one of the greatest football players ever. That was the main focus for me.
So you believed it.
And I'm not saying that because, I felt like that was something I needed to accomplish, but I just felt like that's something that kept me focused. And whenever I started having success on the football field or out putting up outstanding numbers, it was still that hunger, it was still that fear of failure that kept pushing me. So I don't say that because, I'm trying to, be cocky or anything like that. It was just something that motivated me to continue to work hard.
You end up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1985, so the year was still a great year. But it was.
But I really looked at my rookie season and I felt like it was not a great year for me because I could have done better. And the next year, the numbers that I put up, and I would go back and I look at that year and I said, you know what, I could have done better. So it was like I never got to a point in my career where I felt like I had arrived and I could relax. I stayed hungry and I wanted more.
1986, you're training with Roger Craig on that hill.
Yeah, the infamous hill.
In San Carlos?
Make you throw up the last 800 meters straight uphill.
Many as the next guy on the list. That's incredible.
I give the credit to my teammates, the way we were able to rally around each other. And, in 12 games, 21?
22.
22?
22.
Wow.
And you're the MVP.
Joe, I don't even know how to explain that because it's almost like you just going out to play the game. You're going out to play the game. You're going to do something that you really love doing, and you pour your heart into it.
We've talked a lot about you, but how important is a Super Bowl title for you at this point, team-wise?
Everything. And, you hear guys talk about, they're not going to let the Super Bowl dictate their, career. It was all about winning.
In 1988, you end up in Super Bowl 23. You take on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, scared to death.
Really?
Yeah.
It all came back.
Yeah.
All the fear.
All the fear. But the thing about fear, it brought the best out of me. It was something, because I didn't want to let anyone down, but it brought the best out of me. Yeah, you have all the butterflies during the night.
Can't sleep.
You can't sleep. So I'm up all night long because I'm processing all of these plays. I'm getting myself ready. I can't sleep. The next day, we have a meeting in the morning. Then the game is around like 6 late that evening. And I can't eat all day long.
So you haven't slept and you haven't eaten.
No.
And you're going to play the biggest game of your life.
Yes. So you got to be able to channel everything, and you got to be able to calm your nerves, and you got to be able to look at the surroundings and see what's happening, but not get caught up in it. So my thing, when I went into the big game, the way I breathe, doing warm-ups, the way I run my routes, the way I come out of my cuts, I'm getting a feel for exactly what I'm going to do during the ball game. So, but, it's like once that ball is kicked off, it's time to go to work. I mean, this is what you have worked for your entire life. everything comes down to one game. And it's like, who's going to go out and play their best football on that given day? And I was one of those guys that only knew one speed, and that was 100%.
In Super Bowl 23.
And Walsh has to shatter both reception and yardage records in Super Bowl history. Montana, touchdown, John Taylor. And that's it. The game is over. San Francisco.
I love it.
You were the MVP of that Super Bowl. 11 catches, 215 yards, a touchdown. We saw it in the highlight. How did your family react to Jerry Rice being a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP?
Oh, I go back to Starkville, Mississippi, Crawford, Mississippi, and I'm thinking, okay, the red carpet, everything gonna be laid out for me and all that. No. Nothing
Hey, Jerry,
like that.
how you doing?
Hey, take the garbage out, okay?
Welcome home.
You know, for my family to have the opportunity to be a part of that.
I was going to say, that's the back end of that promise, is you could buy your mom a house.
Yeah,
right?
and I remember what that felt like, and till today, it was amazing, and it's something that is really hard to explain, because it's like your parents, they provide for you their entire lives. Now, all of a sudden, you're able to return that. And just to have her to, you know, be in her new home, also come to so many ball games, it's just something I'll never forget, you know. And like I said, even though they have moved on, you know, I still have all of those memories, you know, and it was just something special.
After that win, Bill Walsh announces that he's burned out and he's leaving. Were you resentful at all that he walked away when he did?
I just felt like it was like my father leaving, because we had such a great relationship. So in a way, I was a little angry.
A little hurt?
A little hurt also, because I think Bill could have stayed around a couple more years and won maybe 2 more Super Bowls.
He regretted that.
He just felt like he was burnt out, and he decided to walk away. And I remember in the locker room, he just broke down and started crying, you know, just like a baby, because he knew that was his last football game.
How different was life under George Seifert?
The thing about the coaches, they always want the players to take the team over. Now, the coaches can come up with all the plays, you know, get everything, you know, the way they want it to be. But now it's up to those players to go out and make it happen on the football field. So he was that type of guy. We had so many great leaders, and I think that's why we were able to, you know, go back to the Super Bowl.
Which you did, Super Bowl 24. Now, before your first one, the year before Super Bowl 23, you couldn't sleep the night before the game. You couldn't eat. How was it the second time around when you're about to play the Broncos?
Still the same way. The reason why it felt the same is because it meant something to me. If you ever go into a game and you feel like, hey, it's just a ball game, you should do something else.
Let's take a look.
Yeah.
2nd and 8. Typical 49er drive. 38 yards away. Final score against the 49ers 55, the Denver Broncos 10.
You know,
That first one, you beat Carl Mecklenburg, for God's sake.
okay, guys, on that first play, I was not even a primary receiver. I was like the third guy. So Joe goes through his reads, and so he looks to the right. First guy is covered. Second guy. Then he came back to me. Now that gives me, you know, that tells me I need to uncover. So I uncovered. I caught the ball, and I got hit. And the thing Bill Walsh talked about all week long, he said, look, these guys, they like to deliver a blow, but they don't.
I love talking to quarterbacks when I go through the league and receivers about that unspoken language that you have when you have a relationship like that with a signal caller? So in this case, Joe Montana. There were times I would imagine where the slightest glance,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
the little wink, the little whatever it is as you're out at your position, you two are speaking without speaking.
I know when I go around and I do talks, guys, I always say this and I joke around about it. I say if Joe was a female, I would date him. Big time. Because we had such great chemistry that way. Joe could look at me a certain way, and I knew, just eye-to-eye contact. Joe, why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not interested. I'm happily married, not interested.
I know that. But, it's like as a receiver, I'm just like a quarterback on the field. I have to be able to come to the line of scrimmage. I have to be able to read the defense. I know when it's man-to-man. I know when it's zone. If it's man-to-man, it's like, okay, all I have to do is beat this defender on me. I beat him, I score a touchdown.
So you guys are going for a three-peat, and the great Joe Montana goes down in the NFC Championship game that third year, which would be 1990, against the Giants.
That was hard because you look at a player like that, and you always feel like that player is going to get up.
But Joe didn't get up from that hit.
So he didn't get up from that hit. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow. We talking about Jesus, like Jesus in cleats.
Right.
All of a sudden,
Jesus in cleats.
He's down, and he's not getting up.
But the guy that comes in is Steve Young. It sounds silly, maybe to the outsider, but Steve Young's a lefty. And this quick-hitting offense, balls rotating the other way, that was a big adjustment for you guys.
Guys, I don't curse a lot, but I wanted to say WTF. Because the different spin on the ball, you would not believe the different spin. So everything.
Had you ever caught a pass from a lefty?
No. So everything that I had accomplished with Joe, I had to put that on the back burner. Now I have to work with Steve Young. And when Steve first came into the league, Steve was hurting me big time because he was running with the football. And Steve, he needed to throw me the ball.
Right.
He's running with the football. He was running up my back. So I'm like, Steve, you got to stay in the pocket. You got to become a pocket passer.
This isn't how we do it around
No,
here.
we don't do it, But it took a while for me to really adjust to that different spin. And I had an equipment guy that would throw me. He was a lefty. And doing every individual drill, he would throw me footballs. And I got used to that rotation.
You find success with this guy
through repetition and hard work. And he got used to my body language. So, we were able to, do some great things on the football.
Maybe not dating good, but good enough.
No, I think the chemistry was so good between us. He could have been my girlfriend too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I got two Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Joe Montana, Steve Young. And guess what? I put both those guys into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. It's true.
No, we complimented each other well. And I always joke around about that. And Steve, he gets a chuckle out of that, but I think Joe, he doesn't like when I say that.
Well, he did win before you got there, too.
He did.
So just talking about that dynamic, though, now Montana's not around. You are adjusting. At that time, did you really step into the leadership role with this team? I know you're a leader in your own way from the beginning, but now the dynamic of the dynamic team, no longer Ronnie Lott is on his way out and Roger Craig is on his way out.
Yeah, I think that leadership role is something you earn. I mean, from players, how productive you are on the football field and how you conduct yourself during the week and how you conduct yourself being a pro. So I feel like I was in that role. And now because of those other guys leaving, now it just put additional pressure on myself to just do all, to do the right thing.
So you don't have Montana for 1991, but by 1992, Montana's ready to go. But the job is now Steve Young's. And for those of us on the outside, we're thinking, okay, Steve Young's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, really good. Hall of Fame good.
So where are you going with this?
You did say publicly you did back Joe Montana to get his job back.
I think you should never lose your job to an injury. So I felt like, you know, he should have had the opportunity to come back and fight for his job.
I know this.
Yeah.
I work with Troy Aikman, and you guys ended up meeting them in the playoffs. And Aikman said, because Montana got in a game late in that year, and Montana looked like Joe Montana. And he said he and the rest of his teammates were thrilled that Joe Montana stayed over there while the game was being played over here.
Yeah, we didn't like those Cowboys no matter what. Though.
Yeah.
It's like...
So just to talk about this rivalry, this is one of the real glory times in the NFL. As somebody my age watching, you know, you guys play the Cowboys, it felt like every year. I mean, they got you in '92, and
I know.
and that wasn't the only time.
You know, it's still painful today, to be honest with you, because they really took something from us that really, it hurts. And I'm sure we did the same thing to them. But it was one of those rivalries where that it was so intense. It's like, it's one of those things, I'm not a very nice guy. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not very nice after Thursday. Because I'm getting ready to do battle. And it was that type of rivalry with the Dallas Cowboys. And I remember them saying, how about them Cowboys? I used to hate that.
That's little Jimmy.
I used to hate it. Whenever I heard it, how about them Cowboys?
Dallas, as you can see, has ruined some great San Francisco dreams in the past.
We will win the ball game, and you can put it in 3-inch headlines. We will win the ball game.
I think that Jerry Rice, he's had enough talk about the Cowboys being America's team.
Well, he admittedly says that he's been thinking about this rematch. Here's Aikman. To him and Smith, he'll walk in.
How about them Cowboys?
Thanks a lot, Joe.
That's not me. That's them back there pulling strings.
Joe, I can't believe you just did that to
How
me.
about them Cowboys?
Oh, my God.
So you lose to them in 92, 93, and 94, you get Deion Sanders.
Prime time.
Prime time.
Yeah.
What was your relationship like with Deion Sanders, who, in essence, your organization brought in to beat the Dallas Cowboys?
We needed a shutdown corner, and prime time, he was the guy. But, you know, along with Deion Sanders, there's a lot of, because there was a lot of people around him and stuff like that. I think with Deion, he came into the 49ers, and he looked at the standard, the way we practice, and he caught on. So he started, you know, he was still being prime time, but he worked a little bit harder, and he was that missing piece that we needed to beat Dallas.
Which happened in that 1994 season in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, yes. Those are the type of battles that you live for. And, you know, to have him come on board and be that missing piece to help us, you know, get to the Super Bowl and win it, it was, you know, fantastic.
But there was a little controversy in there because you did make mention that some guys were out running around that week and you were there to win a game.
I think Deion might have been one of those guys. We heard about it the next day. George Seifert and the coaches left the room, and they decided to just let us just deal with it. So there was some very bad words spoken, you know.
I mean, did it get hot?
Oh, yes. It got very confrontational. But it got
physical?
But it got us focused again.
Wait,
and ready.
did it get physical?
It got us focused and ready again. Okay? it got us focused and ready again. Yeah, see there? That's what I'm talking about.
That's
and you know,
a lefty. The lefty took care of you.
Yeah, you know what? Steve really did, but I played that game, the entire game, with a separated shoulder. But I think because of my work ethic and how I had trained myself, I was able to block all of that out and still stay focused on what I needed to do to help my team.
Any truth to the rumor that I'm starting right now that Deion Sanders separated your shoulder the night before?
No. Joe, this is so funny because there was a moment during that football game where my jersey had reached up or anything like that, and he walked over and he put it back up for me.
That was a small thing that he did, like, I got you, or I heard you.
I remember when Deion, when he was with the Atlanta Falcons, we did so many battles so many times, and it was real nasty, and I didn't like him, he didn't like me, but at that point right there is when I'm like, okay, Deion, you might be a cool dude, you might be okay. When he helped me to, put my jersey back up and stuff like that, and after we had resolved everything that had happened a couple days before, and when we won the Super Bowl, I congratulated him, he congratulated me, and I told him, hey man, I really appreciate you.
And then he went to Dallas.
So here we go again.
By the way, Steve Young tells a story that right after you guys win the Super Bowl, he's at Candlestick getting something in the locker room or in the offices there. He looks out and you're running pass patterns on the field days or the next day after the Super Bowl.
What's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing, but you're a freak.
I'm getting ready for the next Super Bowl. I'm getting ready for the next season.
And
this is what I do and what I love doing.
That brings us to this quote on the wall. Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish
what others can't.
That speaks directly to that.
It does, and it's everything that I live for. I mean, whatever endeavor that I'm doing, I'm gonna outwork you. I might not be the best, I might not be the most gifted athlete, but I'm gonna pretty much outwork you, and you have to earn it. That's it, the bottom line.
In 1994, you pass Walter Payton, Jim Brown for the all-time touchdown.
Man, I'm the man. I'm the man, boy.
This kid from Crawford.
From Crawford, Mississippi.
Crawford, Mississippi.
Guys, can you believe that? Crawford, Mississippi.
I mean, Jim Brown and Walter Payton, it doesn't get any better than that. Let's watch it.
Let's watch it. I mean, everything. Thank you, guys. Everything we have worked for, it comes down to that one play. And the offensive line, the running backs, everybody plays a very important part. And to be able to celebrate that with my teammates is like, it's just something I'll just cherish for the rest of my life.
Well, 1997, Steve Mariucci comes in, and that's when you're getting this major shift as some of these younger receivers start coming in too. Right? Now.
Yeah, those knuckleheads.
Right.
Yeah.
You got J.J. Stokes.
Yeah. And they're hungry.
And they're hungry. And a guy named Terrell
Owens. Yeah.
So these two guys come along, and they're really good. And here's Jerry Rice, and all of a sudden, and you've seen the business side of the NFL. Your best friends have come and gone. Joe Montana got traded.
Yeah, he got traded. That's really the business side of football, and I knew it was going to happen. If it happened to Joe, I knew it was going to happen to me. It happened to Ronnie, a lot of great players. So,
but now we're on a collision course in 2000 for the end of Jerry Rice and the San Francisco 49ers. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to the end of the year, a game against the Chicago Bears. It's your...
Oh, where Terrell Owens caught like around 20 balls?
Yeah.
And Steve Mariucci, he said, well, I didn't realize he caught so many balls. I said, yeah, I did. Because the ball was not coming my way, but it was just...
This wasn't a Kobe Bryant send-off with the Lakers.
No.
Pass it to Kobe and just watch. This was, you're in this game against the Chicago Bears. They know the ball's going to go to you. This is it for Jerry Rice in San Francisco. They double cover you. and they forget about Terrell Owens, and he catches 20
I guess
to set a record.
that was the strategy, but I don't really think that was the strategy. It was just meant where I couldn't have a big game on that given day. Because if I had a big game, then it would have been like, why is this guy leaving San Francisco?
So you think you were held back in that game?
So everything happens for a reason, but that opened up, you know, some new opportunities for me because I was able to go across the bay to the Oakland Raiders.
And you played well. You went to the Oakland Raiders, and you were a part of a team that in year one, you have 83 catches, you have over 1,100 yards, you have 9 touchdowns. You break Walter Payton's all-time yardage record in NFL history.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yo, really? Really?
That's unbelievable, man. I'm always shocked, to be honest with you. Even though let me see, I think you said 36, a whole 36 records?
Yeah.
1,549 receptions, 22,895 yards, 208 touchdowns. See, I remember what I want to remember.
There are details that are gone, but not those. You go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
yeah.
not just Jerry Rice
That
world.
hurt me. That hurt me.
You go to the Super Bowl and come close.
That's not good enough, though, to come close. That's not good enough. And I really wanted Tim Brown to get a ring.
As you look back, are there any regrets?
No. I poured my heart out on the football field. I always gave 100%. It was about the fans and my teammates. It was not about the individual awards or any the accolades and all that stuff. I enjoyed just being on the football field, and if I was able to really touch some lives on that given day of those fans that's watching football and all that, I felt like I had did my job.
What fans should know, and if they don't, and I'm sure you're aware, that when players are eligible for Hall of Fame voting, it's writers in a room, media personnel in a room, and a name will come up, and then a discussion will ensue, and I don't care who you are, the greatest players in history, somebody has a negative thing to say. And it becomes kind of a verbal tug of war trying to get these guys into the Hall of Fame. Somebody makes a presentation. And when your time came, your presenter, Nancy Gay, stood up, and it was her turn to present, and she said, "Jerry Rice," and sat down. There was no argument.
That's all she did?
That's it. Jerry Rice. End of story.
Wow. That's
For people that have been in the room, they will tell you that's the only time that's ever happened.
wow, guys. I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you, because wow. I can't believe that's all she said.
That's it. That's all it took. Jerry Rice.
She said Jerry Rice.
Here's my argument.
She like
Jerry Rice.
She like Jerry Rice and just dropped the mic. Huh?
Yeah. How great was it to have your mom at the Hall of Fame induction
God. I mean,
ceremony?
To have my, mom there, my brothers, sisters, to share in that, that was like the ultimate, because that's the ultimate group, is to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it's only a certain number of guys that get an opportunity to live that dream, and to have my parents there, my kids and all that. It's just something I'll never forget. So it's like I'm living a dream right now, and I just can't believe, what I was able to accomplish.
What's next for you? What do you got cooking?
Oh my God, so many opportunities, and Steve and I, we got the 8 to 80 zone where we we do stuff in like a high-risk, community like Palo Alto, and we went in there, we built this media center for these kids. These kids can mix music, they can create videos, they can learn how to become a broadcaster.
Talking head.
Yeah, all of that. So, it's just that I think the sky's the limit, and I'm having a great time, and I'm just gonna keep having that fear of failure to push me.
Well, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You can't fail at these. These are unseen questions by me. They're produced by the staff. They're fun questions.
Uh-oh.
There's no right or wrong. There's no fear of failure that needs to happen here. But this is how we end the show.
Okay.
Would you rather be able to read anyone's mind or know their future?
Well, let me see. I think know their future.
Would you tell them?
I probably wouldn't. And the reason why I say that, certain things you just need to just let it just play out, because I never knew exactly my future.
If somebody had told you back in Crawford, Mississippi, hey, oh, by the way, I know your future and you're going to be the greatest receiver of all time.
I would have never believed that.
And it may have changed how you worked.
So,
who knows?
I think things happen for a reason, and probably I wouldn't tell them.
Would you rather lose your wallet or lose your cell phone?
I think rather lose my cell phone. Yeah, my wallet, that's all my valuables and stuff like that.
I mean, this is a guy, you kept all your money at one point in a cassette deck in your car, is that right?
Hey, shh, don't tell everybody
Okay.
that, man.
You don't still do that.
Now, you know what,
It'd be a hell of a
though.
big cassette deck.
I really did. I was country. I'm sorry, guys, I was country.
Who we have before you and before our television audience is a person who grew up in Crawford, Mississippi, beat all the odds, worked his tail off to become somebody that when they met to determine who was going into the Hall of Fame, all they had to say were 2 words, Jerry Rice, the greatest ever. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
What's up, baby? What's up?